All right, let's jump right into this explainer. For years, we've kind of just assumed that if we use privacy tools, clear our cookies, and manage our data, we can essentially vanish on the internet. But what if the very operating system you're using is permanently anchoring your identity in the background? Today, we're going to focus on exactly how Windows GDD tracking works. It's basically an invisible tether, and it actually just made major headlines in a federal investigation. So, to really wrap our heads around this, we need to set the stage with a bit of a mystery. Picture this. A 19-year-old guy named Peter Stokes is walking through the Helsinki airport. He's carrying two 2-terabyte hard drives and a ticket to Japan. He's an alleged member of a pretty high-profile hacking group. And look, he took all the classic precautions. He routed his activity through commercial VPNs, proxy servers. He even used rotating IP addresses. So, how on earth does a hacker hide behind a VPN but still get caught? Well, the timeline of his movements really gives it away. Back in October 2024, he was flagged to the FBI. Then, on May 12, 2025, an ngrok tunneling account was created supposedly from a random VPN proxy IP address. Just 3 hours later, a luxury jewelry retailer was breached, and they were hit with an $8 million ransom demand. Now, the proxy IP address was a total dead end, but Microsoft's logs revealed something fascinating. At the exact same minute that ngrok account was created, a highly specific digital identifier visited the sign-up page and then later visited the retailer's website. His IP address kept changing, sure, but this one single identifier followed his PC absolutely everywhere, ultimately leading to his arrest in Helsinki in April 2026.
Section 1. Unmasking the GDID. What exactly tracked the hacker?
The tool that caught him is called the Global Device Identifier, or GDID. In Microsoft's own words from the federal complaint, it is a persistent device-level identifier designed to uniquely identify an installation of a Windows operating system. Basically, it is permanently assigned to your computer the exact moment you install Windows or sign into a Microsoft account. It survives Windows updates, and it quietly links all your online activities on that machine back to one single identity. So, how does it actually get onto your computer? When Windows provisions a device, a background system service called Willid CVC contacts login.live.com. The server, not your local machine, but the server, assigns what's called a device PUID. This little string of text gets buried in your registry. From there, the Connected Devices platform reads it and registers it into Microsoft's Device Directory service, which functions kind of like a massive digital registry office. Finally, everyday services like delivery optimization report this value back to Microsoft servers every single time your PC shares or downloads update data. It's totally seamless, and it happens completely automatically. And guys, the scale of this is truly staggering. We are talking about an impact on roughly 1.6 billion Windows users around the globe. That's you, me, and pretty much every computer in a modern office. Yet, outside of a handful of enterprise IT admins reading obscure Azure reference tables, this was literally a ghost in the machine until this specific court case unsealed the details. Section 2. The Identifier Mesh. Not just one tracker, but many. Here's where it gets really interesting. The GDID doesn't act alone. Independent researchers have mapped out a redundant identifier mesh made up of 4 distinct planes of Windows identity. The operating system provisions persistent IDs from multiple independent authorities all at once. You've got the identity plane, where the GDID lives, the telemetry plane handling background diagnostic events, the activation and licensing plane, which is tied to your physical hardware, and finally, a passive fingerprinting plane. They are all operating simultaneously. Just think about the sheer volume of identifiers silently transmitted in diagnostic telemetry events. A routine run context event transmits a census ID and a PCFP, which is a system ID calculated by hashing your actual hardware. A W client event for Windows Update sends a W device ID. These identifiers are stamped side by side into the same data packets. Because they travel together, they form a massive correlation graph on the server side. It's like tying strings together on a detective's corkboard. You definitely don't defeat a system like this by just removing one single pin. Section 3, the reinstall trap. Why wiping your hard drive fails. This is where we hit a massive disconnect between user assumption and server reality. The user naturally assumes, hey, if I wipe the drive and reinstall the OS, I get a totally new identity. And locally, yeah, that's true. You do get a fresh GUDID and a new telemetry device ID. But the server reality is a completely different story. When that fresh installation makes its first internet contact, Windows derives a hardware identifier from your physical components, like your motherboard, and auto-activates your digital license. The server instantly sees the new GUDID co-observed with the exact same hardware activation hash. Bam! Your new identity is immediately re-anchored right back to the old one. Cybersecurity analysts reviewing the court case put it perfectly. They said, reinstalling to obtain a new identifier, then signing back in, supplies exactly the linkage data that defeats the purpose. These partial suppression attempts actually cement your tracking profile because you're literally handing the server the exact bridge it needs to link your old activity to your fresh installation.
Section 4, the broader tracking ecosystem, tracing beyond the operating system.
And the tracking goes way beyond just the OS layer. For example, modern web browsers use something called user agent client hints. Browsers use this format to provide high-entropy user agent data, which is just a fancy way of saying incredibly specific, highly unique details, to the websites you visit. This allows a web server to silently detect if you are running specific Windows 11 builds, or even what your underlying CPU architecture is, like whether you're on an ARM or an x86 processor. It's just another hyper-specific layer added to your digital fingerprint as you casually browse the web. Then there's the appropriately named Mark of the Web. I know, it sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it's very real. It's actually a hidden alternate data stream within the Windows NTFS file system. So whenever you download a file through a major browser, Windows permanently records the exact source URL and domain directly into that file's hidden metadata. It is a permanent local record of exactly where a file came from, and it's completely invisible to the standard user interface. At the enterprise network level, it gets even tighter, with frameworks utilizing a PDID, or Persistent Device Identifier. You might know that modern devices randomize their MAC addresses to protect your privacy when you connect to Wi-Fi, while enterprise networks can use a 128-bit radius-based GUID assigned by an authentication server to track a physical device continuously. This entirely defeats the privacy protections that MAC randomization was supposed to provide in the first place. The network knows it's your specific laptop, no matter how many times it changes its digital disguise. Let's say you miraculously manage to strip away all those explicit IDs. You are still faced with the join key of last resort, passive OS layer fingerprinting. Everyday hardware attributes are packed into routine diagnostics to form a unique composite profile. We're talking your specific hardware components, your firmware versions, your exact disk capacity, the specific peripherals you happen to have plugged in, and your local MAC addresses. Mix all those together, and they create a highly distinctive hardware fingerprint that is incredibly difficult to mask. Section 5. The illusion of privacy. Can you actually opt out? If we look over at the mobile space, companies like Apple and Android actually require explicit consent screens for their advertising identifiers. They feature highly visible tracking resets that users can easily access in the settings. Compare that to the Windows GDID, there is absolutely no consent screen. It is assigned automatically the second you sign into a Microsoft account, and there's no simple off switch. Now, there are a few limited steps you can take to restrict the data capture. You can try to stick to using a local account rather than a Microsoft account. You can dig into your settings and turn off optional diagnostic data, block advertising IDs, and disable cloud content search. But it is vital to understand that this doesn't delete the underlying identifier. It just puts a few band-aids over the amount of data it captures. So what's the big takeaway from all this source material? Well, as independent analysts put it, every company selling you software has some version of this. What gets me is that most people had never come across the term GDID before a federal court filing. Persistent device identity is pretty much an industry standard used for licensing, activation, and fraud prevention. But the real shocker here is the total lack of transparency, leaving over 1 billion users entirely unaware of the massive mesh of identifiers their devices emit on a daily basis.
Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. If wiping your hard drive doesn't actually erase you, and your very physical hardware serves as a permanent beacon mapping your digital life, if your hardware is quite literally your identity, who is truly in control of your device? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.